I still remember that night. Boston's sky was tearing itself apart. Thunder, rain, sharp winds, like the world outside was screaming for me. Inside my tiny bedroom, I sat cross-legged on the floor, phone still glowing in my shaking hand. My eyes were so puffy I could barely see the carpet. I just ended it with Ryan. 4 years over. Because tomorrow, I was going to marry a man I barely knew. My lips quivered. I pressed my palm to my mouth, trying not to sob out loud. Then, almost like someone else's voice, I heard myself whisper, "I'm about to marry a stranger, just to save Mom and Dad." And God, that truth, it sliced right through me. I'm Emma Walker, 26, a pediatric nurse at Boston General, which is just a fancy way of saying I wipe tears, hold tiny hands through scary nights, and pray quietly that the kids under my care get to grow up. I've always been soft, the type to tear up at old couples holding hands, the type who bakes cinnamon rolls on Sundays because the smell reminds me life can still be sweet. People say I'm too tender for this world. Maybe they're right. I grew up just outside Boston, in a squeaky old blue house my dad kept promising to repaint. Inside, Mom had little wooden signs everywhere. Family is everything. Funny. Now I wonder if that was a hope or a warning. Dad, Richard, worked construction. His hands always rough, skin sunburnt no matter the season. Mom, Diane, bounced from job to job. Sometimes floral shops, sometimes diner shifts. She'd come home with aching feet and cheap lipstick smudged on her coffee cup. They loved me. I know that. But I was also their anchor. The good daughter. The one who never complained, never said no, always tried to patch the holes in our ship. Then there was Ryan. My Ryan. A mechanic with dirt under his nails and laughter that rumbled right through your ribs. We dreamed so small, but it felt enormous to us. A little house with a creaky porch, maybe 2 kids, a mutt dog we'd spoil rotten. He used to pull me close in bed, whisper against my hair, "Emma, I don't need millions. I just need mornings with you." God, remembering that now feels like someone twisting a knife in my chest. It all truly fell apart on a Wednesday night. I remember because Mom's favorite show was playing on the TV in the next room, laugh tracks echoing like cruel background noise. Dad called me into the dining room. When I walked in, my stomach dropped. Papers, stacks of them, scattered all over the table. Mortgage statements, credit card bills, a foreclosure notice. Dad wouldn't even look at me. His eyes were fixed on a tiny crack in the table's varnish. Mom, though she reached for my hand, hers was cold. Damn. Emma, we're about to lose everything. My throat closed up. I wanted to laugh like maybe this was a prank. But Dad's shoulders just crumbled in on themselves. Then Mom cleared her throat. Her voice shook so hard it barely came out. There's one way out. The Hayes. They said if you marry their son Ethan, they'd give us $600,000. It would save the house. Pay off everything. I actually swayed where I stood. Like the ground had given out under me. Ethan Hayes. I knew of him. 2 towns over, big family, money dripping from every word they spoke. He'd been in that motorcycle accident last year. Paralyzed from the waist down. And apparently now they wanted a pretty little nurse to be his wife. His caretaker. His cover for polite society. I ran. Locked myself in the bathroom, slid down the door till I hit the cold tile. Clutched my phone like it was life support and called Ryan. He answered with that warm, raspy, "Hey, Em." And I broke. Sobs racked through me. I told him everything. He was silent for so long. Then, angry, desperate, he whispered, "Run away with me, Emma. We'll figure it out. I don't care if we're broke, I just want you." And for half a heartbeat, I almost said yes. But I thought of Dad's sunburned neck bent in shame. Mom's trembling hands. The house that held all my childhood Christmases. So I didn't. I told Ryan I couldn't. And then I hung up, pressing the phone to my heart as if it could hold me back together. The wedding was a blur. Cold, sterile. Held in a fancy country club ballroom that smelled more like floor polish than love. I wore white, but my heart felt black and bruised. Ethan sat there in his sleek wheelchair, dressed sharp in a tailored suit. His dark hair perfectly styled, jaw tense, eyes avoiding mine. When the officiant asked us to say, "I do," my voice cracked so badly I wanted to run. But I didn't. I stood there, hands clammy in his, while my parents watched with watery smiles. Like they couldn't see the chains tightening around me. Afterward, Ethan and I posed for pictures we'd both fake smiled through. He hardly spoke a word. That night, I lay awake in a cavernous guest bedroom of his sprawling house, listening to rain drip outside, wondering what fresh hell I'd stepped into. Weeks passed. Ethan was polite, almost distant. He spent hours in his study sketching or reading. We'd bump into each other in the hall, mumble stiff greetings, then slip away. The loneliness ate at me, sharper than any knife. Then one night 3 months in, there was a soft knock at my door. I froze, heart racing. It opened slowly, and there he was, Ethan, hair messy, eyes strangely soft. Could you join me for dinner? Just us. No staff. My breath caught. I nodded. Dinner was awkward. We stumbled through small talk. Then he made a dry joke about how he still can't dance, even seated. I laughed. Actually laughed. That sound seemed to surprise us both. His shoulders eased, and for the first time, I noticed the sadness behind his eyes. From then on, things started to shift. Little shared smiles in the hallway. Late-night talks in the kitchen over leftover pie. I learned he loved old adventure novels, that he secretly sketched landscapes he was too shy to show. And somehow, painfully, confusingly, my heart began to stir. With guilt tangled in every beat. It was almost a year into this strange, fragile marriage when I woke up one morning nauseous. Brushed it off at first, nerves, maybe bad eggs. But it didn't go away. A week later, standing in the harsh fluorescent light of my bathroom, I stared down at 2 pink lines. Pregnant. My hands flew to my mouth. Tears welled up, a storm of fear and something close to hope swirling in my chest. That night, I waited for Ethan to come home from a meeting. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. When he finally rolled in, loosened his tie, I blurted it out. Ethan, I'm pregnant. For a second, everything froze. Then he looked at me, and the color drained from his face. Not joy. Not shock. Something else. Something haunted. He turned away, gripping the wheels of his chair so tight his knuckles whitened. Later that night, he knocked on my door. His eyes were red. His voice cracked. Emma, I have to tell you something. God, I should have told you months ago. My pulse skittered. He took a shaky breath. I can walk. I've been able to for a while now. This whole paralysis thing, it was real at first. But I recovered. My parents, they wanted to keep it quiet. They thought if people saw me as vulnerable, it'd protect the family business from old scandals resurfacing. And they wanted someone like you. Kind. Loyal. They chose you. My vision swam. I clutched the bedpost to keep from collapsing. You lied to me? For months? Made me your nurse when you didn't need one. His face crumpled. I fell for you, Emma. I didn't want to scare you away. I kept up the act because I was terrified the truth would make you hate me. My stomach turned. All those tender moments. The trust building. The nights I sat by his side, thinking he was struggling, while he'd been whole this entire time. I sank to the floor, wrapping my arms around my belly. Our child. And a marriage built on lies. The next morning felt like waking up inside someone else's nightmare. I could barely breathe. My parents came over for brunch, bright-eyed, clueless. Ethan's parents arrived too, with smug little nods, like they owned the air in the room. But I'd had enough. I stood up, hands trembling, voice shaking as I looked right at Ethan's parents. Did you know? Did you both know he could walk this whole time? The smirk slipped off Mr. Hayes' face. Mrs. Hayes clutched her pearls. Ethan rolled forward. Then with a raw, miserable look, he stood up. Just stood. His mother gasped. My mom's hand flew to her mouth. Dad's eyes went wide and wet. I can walk, Ethan said, voice hoarse. And I lied. To protect them. To protect the company. But mostly, I was selfish. I didn't want to lose Emma. I thought if I showed her all my broken pieces first, she'd stay. I stared at him. My heart was a war zone. Every memory, his soft laughs, the way he listened to my ramblings, how he made space for me in this giant, lonely house, collided with every betrayal. Tears blurred everything. All I ever wanted was someone honest. Someone who'd stand by me without secrets. You took that from me, Ethan. He fell to his knees in front of me, hands trembling on mine. If you walk out now, I'll give you everything. The house, money, whatever you want. I'll sign it all over. Just please don't take yourself away too. I closed my eyes, felt the tiny flutter in my belly, our baby. My future was splintering in every direction. But something in his voice, the way it cracked, how his eyes looked as shattered as I felt, made me pause. I sank down to the floor with him, laid my hand over his. His breath hitched. I don't know how to forgive this, but maybe we try. For our child. And for the love that somehow grew even in all these lies. He pulled me close, forehead pressed to mine. I'll spend my life making it right, Emma. I swear. It's been months since that day in the living room. Since Ethan stood up in front of everyone and let the ugly truth crash down. We've been trying. Slowly. Carefully. Some days the hurt still stings so deep I can't look at him without my chest tightening. Other days, I catch him laughing, reading to my swollen belly in bed, and something inside me softens, almost without permission. This afternoon we sat in the backyard. The spring sun was warm on my face, the scent of fresh-cut grass all around. Ethan's hand rested on my knee, gentle. My other hand absently stroked over my growing bump. I turned to him, voice barely above a whisper. Sometimes, love doesn't come the way you dreamed it. It crashes into your life messy, wrong, tangled and hurt. But it doesn't mean it's not real. He squeezed my hand, eyes damp, hopeful. I don't know what our forever looks like, but I do know it's ours. And maybe that's what love really is. Not perfect. Just chosen again and again, even after it all falls apart. True love isn't always built on perfect beginnings. It's what you choose to grow, even after the deepest betrayals, even through all the messy human mistakes. And sometimes that's the strongest love of all.